Good morning. It's not often I say good morning. I mean, I do it every day, but not every cabinet day because normally we have it in the afternoon. But some of us have got to go to London for a rather big launch this afternoon of a coastal communities report by the Key Cities Network. And so myself and Jemima and Kevin McKenzie and Richard is going as well. Richard Allen's going. We're going to put on a bit of a Plymouth show for people up there in that London. So we're looking forward to that. We're in the big tent, literally the big tent, in the House of Commons this evening. So I just need to do a bit of housekeeping, if that's all right, before we get underway. There's no expected fire alarm testing today. So if it does sound, can you please leave via the nearest fire exit, which is that door there, and then to your left. Can you use your microphone when addressing the meeting, and make sure it's switched off when you're not using it? And if possible, please turn the mobiles to silent. I'm telling myself that. So apologies. We've got Councillor Tom Brysdale still on paternity. Everything going tickety-boo there. And Sudan, who's not on paternity. Okay. Declarations of interest. Do members have any declarations to make? No, none, thank you. Item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. This was held on the 10th of February. Can I ask them to be signed as a true record, please? Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you. Are there any questions from the public today, Jamie?
Thank you, Leader. No questions from the public today.
Thank you very much. And are there any items of urgent business for me today?
No items of urgent business.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Okay, so we move on to item 6, which is items from scrutiny. And we've got the Equality and Diversity Annual Report, which is on pages 19 to 35 of your hymn books. Could I ask Councillor Chris Penberthy to introduce, please? And we have got Angela Penrose in attendance today, who's our Welcoming City champion. Welcome, Angela. Chris.
Thank you, Leader, and we'll bring this report here before it goes to scrutiny next month. You might remember on the 22nd of March.
Use mine, Chris.
Thank you.
Now you've got 2.
Now I've got 2.
Go for it.
The joys of technology. James, can we borrow some of your equipment? You might remember that on March the 22nd last year, we approved a 4-year approach to our public sector equalities duties. For those who are not aware, we are required by legislation as an organisation to demonstrate due regard to the public sector equality duty, and that's to eliminate unlawful discrimination, harassment and victimisation and other conduct prohibited by the Act, advance equality of opportunity between people who share a protected characteristic and those who do not, and foster good relations between people who share a protected characteristic and those who do not. Since the 22nd of March last year, we faced some stuff that we didn't expect to face in the year, most notably the riots of August the 5th. We have adapted, we've reviewed everything, we've carefully thought about our work, and there's been changes of emphasis to reflect what we heard from communities as a result of especially that night. Leader, the approach we've taken this time was to spend a year bedding some stuff in before we did a bigger 3-year, more concentrated action plan. So this is the end of that first year. And we've also got people leading on that. In the past, it's always been, whoever's had my post has just had responsibility for this. That felt a bit strange because inevitably the work programmes related to other people's portfolios. So we've got a little group of cabinet members who will work on this. Sadly, Sue not being here today, she's not here to talk about our work with HR, but she has recently reported on the fact that we don't have major pay gap issues in the council, that we're addressing those and keeping on top of them. And she's talked about other issues there. You might have spotted that our staff networks are getting much more proactive. I know lots of us are looking forward to the Neurodiversity Conference that network has organised, and you might have spotted posters around buildings around our LGBTQ plus network. We're seeing people beginning to do things, and there's more training and development happening. If Sue was here, she'd tell you lots more. But I'm not going to tell you a lot about what's happening in the plan. Councillor Lang, who leads on care experience, can talk to us about that particular strand of work, because there's a new protected characteristic as far as we're concerned as a council. We felt it needed to go in our public sector equalities duty to make sure we were up to speed. Councillor Hayden will talk a bit about hate crime, not only its reporting, but how it's dealt with, because that's really important to the city, and we know the city is the hotspot for hate crime in Devon, Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. Councillor Penrose will just do a little reflection on us as a welcoming city, because it's really important that we change the culture of the city so that people with any protected characteristic are able to feel safe, to feel at home, to feel good at work, and to be able to enjoy themselves as they relax in the city. So I'm going to hand over to my colleagues to tell you more about the work that we've been doing in the last year, whichever order they fancy.
Angela, would you like to go first?
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor, and thank you, Councillor Penberthy. I'd really like to thank Councillor Penberthy for all the work he has already been doing. And as he's been saying, has expanded, and there's been this big realisation that we have to work across. So although a lot of what I do is responding to invitations and attending very interesting events and activities with communities, it's now linking in and networking with other cabinet members and seeing what they're up to, because you know this is on layer upon layer of our work. I'd like to just mention one particular activity that we've got involved in, but I do every month, and that's you may be aware of it, our international dinner, which is held the last Saturday night of every month in the Cherwell Hall. And this originated simply to welcome students from overseas, but it's got much, much wider than that. So every month you have at least 25, 30 nationalities represented, and we all take along food, and it really works out every month. I'm really worried that food is not going to go around, but it does. And usually we have a theme, a cultural theme, an international theme. We've had obviously Chinese New Year recently, and then I've just learnt that the end of March, apparently a third of the world have recognised spring as New Year, and that's the end of March. And so the Persian New Year and all sorts of anniversaries like that. So, and of course it'll be the end of Ramadan. So that's the international dinner that I've become involved in. But as I said, I've also been doing things with safer communities, particularly as Councillor Penberthy said, since the end of August last year. I went with some of the officers to some of the hubs, community hubs, to talk about hate crime in Hate Crime Week. And so I'm still really exploring what I can do. I feel I haven't done enough, but I'm doing my best to keep up with Councillor Penberthy and to work alongside him and the other members of the Cabinet. So we just must continue to listen to our communities and encourage partners in Plymouth to make decisions. For example, I expect you're aware, I think we're getting building up to having a much bigger campaign on gender equality in particular. The council may have got us that together on the gender pay gap, but that isn't necessarily true of other areas in Plymouth. So that's something we're thinking about. So I'm really looking forward to another year working with this team and seeing what we can do to enhance our work. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Does anybody else have anything to add at the moment? Would you like to go next, Deputy Leader?
Yeah, I'm very croaky today, I'm afraid, so I'll see how much I can get out. I'm really pleased we passed a motion in full council nearly 2 years ago now to treat care experience as a protected characteristic. and since then, I've been so impressed with the way that people across the council have really embraced this. We were the 12th council in the country to do it, the first in the southwest to do it, and 111 councils have passed this motion now. And the report includes 12 bullet points outlining the way the councils responded to the motion. For instance, our application forms and related recruitment and selection policy were updated in May 2024 to reflect care experience under the guaranteed interview scheme. Our recent budget engagement survey respondents were invited to select if they had care experience as part of our demographic monitoring. This has also been included in our city survey taking place in 2025. This monitoring allows us to better understand specific communities to guide decision making and service delivery. There are lots of other things too, like free passes to the Life Centre, both for care experienced young people and a friend, because they told us that it was great for them to have a pass, but they didn't necessarily have friends who were able to pay to go. So I think it's really impressive the way the team have continually tried to find new ways to implement this recognition, and I really would like to thank them for all they've done so far. I think it just goes to show that passing this motion, it hasn't been responded to in a tick box exercise way. It really has become and is becoming part of business as usual in the council. So thank you very much for that, and I look forward to it just continuing to gain momentum and we find new ways to recognise it as we go on. Thank you.
That was terrific. Thank you very much indeed, Jemima. Was there anybody else who wanted to say anything? Councillor Hayden.
I think we've all got the bugs, haven't we? That's why I'm out over this way. It's not the fact the Cabinet don't like me. So just going on hate crime, obviously we're seeing an increase on hate crime. Just to assure Cabinet that we take hate crime very seriously in this city. It's on the agenda for Safer Plymouth, and we will continue working with all the groups to raise our concerns, and obviously alongside our partners, our police and everybody else. Thank you, Tudor.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Back to Chris then.
Thank you, Leader. I think we take our equalities duties very seriously here, not just because we're required to by legislation, but actually it's part of our DNA that Plymouth needs to be a welcoming city. So I'd like to start by saying thank you to everyone who's worked on that this year, whether they've realised they're working towards a public sector equalities duty, or actually what they've been doing is just making sure that Plymouth is a better place for all of us. Because that's what really matters. It's not about ticking a box, it's about being a better place. I think the report shows that in those areas we have identified as not business as usual, but needing to have some concentration, we've made a lot of progress over the last year, and that in quite a difficult year. And we're now looking forward as a team to developing our 3-year work programmes, which means that we will be reporting back next year. CMT will be getting information between times, and we will be delving down deeper. But we will be continuing to push this forward, and we're really looking forward to seeing more stuff moving off our action plan and becoming business as usual, and this will continue to roll. So we'll be back in a year's time to report on what more we've done. But I just wanted to thank everyone today as well for their indulgence in giving us an opportunity to specifically talk about the importance of equalities, diversity, inclusion and community cohesion here in the city. Thank you, Leader.
Lovely. Chris, thank you very much indeed for that report. And Angela, thank you for your inspiring contribution. We have a recommendation, which is on page 19 of your papers, that the Cabinet notes the progress set out in our commitment to equality and diversity document. Can I see all those in favour of noting that, please? Thank you very much. That's agreed. Thank you. I will now move on to item 7, which is the Economic Strategy Delivery Plan. We have a few guests with us today for the next 3 items, actually. So first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming and for staying this long already. I know how busy everybody is. We'll try and expedite things as quickly as we can. I'm so excited by this report. I really am. There are certain moments as a leader when you get to make a step change. This is one of those. Today, after 2 years of work in partnership with the Plymouth Growth Board, our strategic economic partnership with the private sector, we can formally adopt our new 10-year economic plan and our delivery plan for the next 3 years. It's a big day at the office. Plymouth, after 15 years of innovation and leadership by the economic development team, and I've got so many of this wonderful team around the table with us today, it's fantastic to see them. We're actually at an economic tipping point. We've created a transformational, once-in-a-lifetime pipeline of investment that will transform the city's economy with a £6 billion investment pipeline, creating 8,000 higher paid jobs. Now, this economic plan will realise this tipping point and will drive economic transformation for the city. As I've said, it builds on the transformational opportunity presented by Growth Alliance Plymouth, with the £4.5 billion investment in the defence sector by our government. And that money is being spent in Plymouth. And that pipeline will stretch out to 2050. I don't think there's a city in the country that can boast that it's got that level of certainty going forward. The economic strategy and delivery plan that you have in front of you today is an unequivocal and unapologetic statement of intent. It places Plymouth at the heart of a national endeavour, building on our recognised strengths in defence and marine autonomy, but also recognising our vital role in other key sectors, such as advanced manufacturing and life sciences, aligning with the industrial strategy. Growth is the government's #1 mission, and at the heart of everything we do here in Plymouth. It's simply not just about more jobs, but better paid jobs that our residents can access. It's about attracting and retaining a new workforce. It is about shifting the economy towards net zero. It is about strong and vibrant communities. It is ultimately about Plymouth as a place that people want and are proud to call home. In the next 3 years, we will deliver 55 projects across the city. These projects have been designed with our partners, with 20 organisations taking on lead roles. The potential impacts are mind-blowing. 1,000 new businesses, 8,000 new jobs, £6 billion of investment, as I've said, £1 billion increase to GVA, productivity up 20%, helping 5,000 people get work, bringing 50 vacant buildings back into use, building 10,000 new homes, lifting 3,000 people out of poverty. We do not underestimate the scale of this task, which is why we work in partnership. The economic strategy is owned by the Plymouth Growth Board, with identified leads from our business community, academic community, cultural community, and voluntary sector community working together with the Cabinet and officer leads to ensure that we deliver. And what a team we have. Productive growth and high-value jobs. Councillor Tudor Evans. Now, that's just putting myself out there, not on the what a team bit, but on the responsibility piece, I think. But I have to say that Richard Stevens, the chair of the Growth Board, is also got his name on this. We're not just talking the talk, we're going to walk it too. On inclusive growth, fantastic to have Lindsay Hall with us, who's going to really drive, not just in terms of the cultural plan, which we're going to hear a bit about in a minute, but also on the whole inclusive growth agenda. And we know how passionate Councillor Chris Penberthy is for it and how much success he's already brought to this particular strand in the past. On sustainable growth, I'm really delighted that Tom Briers-Delve, who's made such a splash in this role already as a cabinet member, will be supported by Richard Davis. It's fantastic to have the university leading this piece of work. And it just goes to show this world-leading university, it being part of this means that we cannot but succeed. Civic pride and regeneration. Jemima Lang will be the cabinet member with responsibility for that, but superb to have James Mackenzie Blackman here from the Theatre Royal, who demonstrate on a daily basis just how special Plymouth is in this piece and how proud we are to have the finest regional producing theatre in the country in Royal Parade, just down the road from us here. And on skills, which is going to underpin all of this, it's vital that skills take pride of place. So Councillor Sally Cresswell, who's had a word or two to say about this recently, and Jackie Grubb from Plymouth, from City College, who's hot on the heels of their fantastic Ofsted as well. We're really proud of what they've achieved on that. But this skills agenda is going to be completely underpinning everything we do in this strategy. Now, for the first time, the investment will be felt across the city and with the following geographical investment areas. So we've got the defence sector in Devonport, the waterfront with Maritime, the heart of the city centre, and the north of the city, which will not be left behind. With so many exciting projects in here. Supporting floating offshore wind, further development of smart sound in our ports, delivering the city centre master plan, investing in priority sites, including the civic centre, business support for manufacturing, tech sectors and startups, better work experience and apprentice opportunities, developing the evening and nighttime economy, city branding, social value, Plymouth Science Park and innovation, maximising defence investment with our free port, equipping our citizens with the right skills to access these jobs, and graduate retention, to name a few. This plan is as ambitious as any in the country. This plan puts Plymouth's economic significance on a national footing. This plan is all about delivery, building on a track record. This plan will transform the lives of everyone in the city. The most exciting thing about this plan is we are not talking about the art of the possible. We're talking about a secure investment pipeline underpinned by the £4.5 billion investment in defence that our government is making and our own £1.5 billion investment pipeline. That's enough from me. And I'm thrilled that we've got senior members of the Growth Board here today. So I'd like to invite Richard, Lindsay and James to say a few words about what this plan means to their organisations. And then I'll invite the councillors to have their say. First of all, Richard, could I ask you to come up into the mic?
Thank you, Tudor. I'm absolutely delighted to be here today as Vice-Chancellor of the University of Plymouth to back this ambitious and exciting plan for the city that we are proud to call home. We are Plymouth's university. Our success is the city's success and vice versa. Our university has a global outlook, but I'm really keen, and I think you know this from everything I've done since the day I started 5 months ago, that we lean into our civic responsibilities too. And this is not least because half of our UK-based students are from Devon and Cornwall. More than any other higher education institution, Plymouth is also the South West's university. So both Plymouth and its university are key to the social, cultural, and most importantly, economic success of our surrounding region as well as our city. And we have nationally important work to do here as well. And that's why I'm absolutely delighted to see the launch of Plymouth Economic Strategy and Delivery Plan, and delighted to be part of it as a leader in our city. I'm relatively new to Plymouth. I think people I've met know that. I'm trying to settle in. My wife's moving down soon. I've been here for just over 5 months. But I have fallen hook, line and sinker for Plymouth's unique charm. It's a complicated place, full of contrasts, a gritty modern city wrapped around a tourist-friendly fishing village on one side and then Western Europe's biggest military dockyard on the other. And woven through the whole of the city is a university that delivers incredible education and employment opportunities, as well as being filled with innovation and ambition. The plans announced today touch on every part of Plymouth. All of the 5 areas that Tudor has highlighted are super important and super relevant to the university's work as well. As you know, our campus is at the heart of the city. It stretches from the railway station down to Drake Circus, and we've invested approximately £250 million ourselves in redevelopment and regeneration of our facilities over recent years. And we're embedded in the northern part of our city, training future doctors and dentists at Derriford, alongside world-class research facilities at Plymouth Science Park, which is a joint ownership between our friends in the City Council and us as the university. Our marine station is on the waterfront at Coxside, facing onto the Barbican and Plymouth Sound, and the University of Plymouth, quite rightly, has the biggest fleet of boats of any university in the UK. In Devonport, we work closely with our partners, the Royal Navy, as well as Babcock and City College Plymouth, to deliver skills and job opportunities for people in our city and surrounding area, as well as supporting the nation's defence needs, which is increasingly important. We're developing the right skills for success and leading on innovations that are a must-have in the United Kingdom, particularly as we seek to maximise the transformational benefits of defence investments in our city. Plymouth is leading the country's research in innovation towards delivering offshore renewable energy and power. Wind farms in the Celtic Sea will require protection and autonomous devices that we can use on the sea and under the sea to protect that vital infrastructure, as well as people in these increasingly uncertain times. So our university is proud to be a world leader in key technologies such as maritime cybersecurity, protecting ships from being broken in due to cyber events. And we're also world leading in marine autonomy. Alongside that, we have growing expertise in agriculture and aquaculture, developing technology and methods for farming on land and at sea, and will give the UK greater food security. And our health research and insights will help reduce significant health inequalities in our region. So by working with our friends in the city and further afield, the University of Plymouth will contribute to our vibrant city in many ways, not least by being a key partner in delivering this excellent strategy for future growth, security and prosperity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Richard. Lindsay, would you like to speak next?
Thank you. Right, is that okay? Technology, yeah. So thank you very much for inviting me to come here. I am absolutely delighted to be part of this session and to be part of delivering this amazing economic growth plan. I often say to people I have the best job in the world because I am lucky enough to sort of sit between, absolute high growth activities and talk to people, about immersive technology and projects in LA that would like to come and use our dome to build them and all of those sorts of things. And also to be based in Devonport and talking to, the children, the young people, the people who are living in our communities. And I suppose for me, the thing that I am most excited about in terms of this economic plan is it feels like we have absolutely got something which does all of that amazing growth, which we totally need, but absolutely also remembers that, we need to make sure that Plymouth is, not just the best place to live for lots of us, but it is absolutely the best place to live for every single one of us. So a few things in terms of what this means for us at Real Ideas. The fact that we are an active partner with all the other people in the city is hugely important. I think sometimes partnerships in cities can be either very sectorially based or, particular types of organisation. What is truly exciting about this plan is that we really are talking about everyone. So that's something that's really important for us. It's really important for us in very practical ways. We recognise, as I'm sure all the organisations that are leading the projects do, is that, this is something where we are also using our abilities to generate different types of investments, to be driving different types of activities. We all need to be playing that active role. So to have a document that we can keep waving at everyone and saying, look, Plymouth recognises the importance of all of this is hugely important. We're going to hear a bit more about the Creative Industries Plan later on, so I'm not going to say too much about it, but I am really delighted that creative industries are absolutely recognised in the plan. We have been incredibly fortunate in the city to have had long-term cultural investment, which has delivered amazing things. But there is more. We have now a platform that we can build on in terms of creative industries. And creative industries nationally are growing at 1.5 times, other sectors. They bring all sorts of amazing results. And so to be thinking in this plan about how we're actually going to connect that in to our defence sector, our manufacturing sector, etc. It was slightly goosebumpy last week. I was at a big creative summit in London, and Lisa Nandy was talking about the creative industries in incredibly positive ways. She at one point in the speech then said, of course, we really need to remember that our defence sector need to work more closely with creative industries. I thought, does she know what we've been writing in this plan? So that's a sort of interesting moment of synergy. It was then echoed by Brendan from Babcock at the Growth Board last week. So I think we are all on the same page in terms of this is all about partnership, collaboration. How do we bring things together to make sure that everyone benefits? For us, particularly, having the Devonport Creative Quarter recognised is brilliant. It's a sort of funny thing in the way that you develop things, but unless people can see something, unless it's named, unless it's recognised, it's sometimes difficult to gain the level of traction that we all want. I don't know, I know some of you came to Dazzle last weekend, and that was us doing a little taster of what it could feel like. And I think, we were totally blown away by the I suppose, local response to it. And so in terms of that sort of, I think we are on the right track. That actually, if we can, use culture and creative industries to make sure that, we are highlighting the role that technology can play, the jobs that the dockyard need are the same jobs that are driven through creative industries and technology and our immersive dome. We're really looking forward to the fact that this is recognised in this plan and is enabling us to go further. And then I think more widely, and it's been brilliant working with Chris over many years, the fact that inclusive growth is like a stick of rock through this strategy is incredibly important. I do still talk to children and young people. I talk to them sometimes about the jobs in the dockyard, and I say to them, there's amazing jobs over there. And they honestly sometimes still look at me as though I am mad. So we have a job to be done to make sure that we do reach every child, every young person, every graduate, that we keep them in the city, that we make sure that people really understand the potential of what's going on here, at the same time as making sure that those people from LA who want to come and use our dome to build their next immersive experience actually come. We can join the dots on those two. That's what inclusive growth is all about. So I am absolutely delighted to be part of this, to be, you know, part of working with all these amazing people. Yeah, I think we're really lucky. This is a great moment. So thank you.
Lindsay, thanks very much indeed. James, would you round up the guest slots, please?
I'll try. Morning, everyone. As I was rereading the plan yesterday evening, I was really reflecting that over the course of the history of this city, there's been real moments where our civic leaders have had to be significantly bold and brave about their ambitions for Plymouth. There was that moment post-war. The one that's particularly personal for me is that in the late 1970s, Plymouth City Council decided to build a new Theatre Royal for the people of Plymouth. And there was so much noise about that being a terrible idea. Here we are, 42 years on, and over 12 million people have visited the Theatre Royal. Our audience right now, as we've got Disney's Mary Poppins on our stage, stretches from the Isles of Scilly up to Bristol. If it wasn't for the bravery of Plymouth City Council in the 1970s, that would just not be the case. And I really do feel that this new strategy, economic strategy for the city, is a moment of similar significance as those other key moments in history's past. We've not just got our incredible building on Royal Parade, we've got the extraordinary TR2 at Cat Down, exporting scenic design and construction sets for theatre productions, not just around the country, but around the world. Last week, as we were loading in 17 articulated lorries of Mary Poppins, we were sending out 10 articulated lorries to Houston in Texas, where we've just finished building a huge new opera for them. What we're doing in our own organisation is woven through the life of this economic development strategy. That's because of the partnership amongst local authority officers, councillors and partners around the city to ensure that this economic development strategy speaks to all of us living and working in the city. So under the Civic Pride and Regeneration pillar, it is a pillar, isn't it? Is it a pillar? It's a pillar. It's really personal to me. I really care about this city and I really care about how it is regenerated. We know that we've got significant demographic pressures. We know that there is a need for more jobs in the city. But most importantly, perhaps, we know that we need to attract new residents, students and workers to stay in Plymouth and to live here. Culture is woven through the strategy in a way that Lindsay has pointed, go figure, we're delighted about. As in addition to all of the economic statistics and the numbers and the money, cities have just got to be great places to live, work and be. We know that happiness is such an important measure of how people feel about where they live. And this strategy absolutely, whilst it might not say it implicitly, is about creating a city that you want to be in and is a happy place to live and work. So the key project areas within the strand of work that we're particularly delighted about is the waterfront and maritime, the incredible work that's going on with the Plymouth Sound National Marine Park, completing the major capital investments at Tyneside, Mountbatten, Mount Edgecombe, and delivering the Sea in our school programme. And in the heart of the city centre, delivering that town in a city vision, which we're all so excited about. I often say that I care as much about what's on our stages as how many bins there are on Royal Parade. I think that's a real indication of the sorts of people that are leading business in Plymouth. We're not selfishly looking inward, we're really, really looking outward. And we know that the success of our own organisations goes hand in hand with the success of the city. This is about a city looking forward in which everyone feels involved and able to embrace the spirit of Plymouth as we move forward. So it's a plan that's as much about the economic success of Plymouth and how we continue to lever support from a wide variety of partners to meet our bold ambition, but it's also a plan that's about people, residents and their happiness and their contentedness and their pride in the city. Some of you will know I'm a Whitley boy. All I wanted to do was Dick Whittington my way out of here in the 80s and 90s. and I was away for 20 years. What this plan aims to do is for many more people not to want to Dick Whittington their way out. This plan is about ensuring that many, many more people want to stay. So I'm delighted to endorse the plan, and I know that together we will get it done. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, the three of you. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for bringing alive this strategy this morning. It's fine words, but we know behind those fine words are some commitments to action. It's really great that you've agreed to put your time into this to make sure it happens. I'm going to ask the councillors to have a few words now, if I could. Sally Cresswell, would you like to address us, please?
Thank you, Leader. I won't speak for too long. I think there's been some wonderful eloquence and such that we've listened to already. But of course, there are the 4 pillars, but skills is the cross-cutting theme within the economic strategy. However, it's so much more than that because it's central to the delivery of the plan and is integrated into every aspect. I rather like to see it, I'm going a bit off script here, I rather like to see it as the glue that holds everything together. And if you look, of course, on page 17, you can exactly see that in terms of how those economic pillars, those pillars all weave into each other, but they're on the base of that glue of skills. Because if we don't have the people with the right level of skills and qualifications, we're never going to be able to deliver the growth that the city actually needs. We must ensure that the city has a workforce it needs in order to meet the future and current growth. The opportunities identified in the investable themes will grow the economy, but we have to work with our residents, our skills providers, employers, to ensure that everyone has equal opportunity and employers can draw upon a committed and qualified workforce. And it's the reason I particularly liked some of those things that you were saying there, Lindsay. They're very close to my heart. The projects below are designed to meet these needs through an approach that reaches out across the city and beyond. This can be defined as a skills escalator. The city needs to provide firm educational foundations for all our local children, train and upskill our adults, and retain the talent that comes into the city through our academic institutions and armed forces, and particularly making our young people and our younger young people more and more aware of what opportunities are actually out there and the work that's going on, not just in our secondary schools, but also in our primary schools as well. The delivery plan highlights, project highlights for me would be supporting and building the capacity of our providers, levering existing resources to address skills, priorities, and building provider capacity, supporting and developing the current and future workforce, developing skills brokerage, enhancing cultural education, and increasing the number and quality of work experiences. And talent retention particularly makes me turn and think about James, in fact, not Dick Whittington out, but coming back again. Retaining our graduates, retaining our veterans, and building recruitment events. Because in essence, we can only reach our goals through that collaboration. So thank you very much, Leader. I'm delighted to make that short little presentation.
Sally, thank you very much indeed. Chris, I wondered if you'd like to go next, please.
Thank you, Leader. Back in 2012, when you first gave me this area within a cabinet portfolio to explore, I don't think Lindsay, you or I could ever have imagined that inclusive growth wouldn't have only been mainstreamed, but has become a strategic priority here in Plymouth. And actually, not only here, but the work that we've been doing here has influenced people all over the country. And I think we can be really proud of that, but we're by no means finished. As you say at the beginning of our strategy, The best economic strategy takes people out of poverty. We're doing this to raise living standards and improve lives. So, Leader, that's the first sentence in the economic strategy, and you've given us a bit of a big deal to attack, and we're going to rise to the challenge. I'm going to give you a bit of a flavour through some of the things that we're going to be headlining on. First of all, we need to build and support a vibrant local economy. Strong local supply chains, businesses able to access public sector contracts, as well as be able to secure contracts from other businesses. Not only here in the city, but across the southwest, nationally, and as we've been hearing, internationally. We're a global city, and we need to look at how we build the capacity of businesses in the city to play on a global marketplace whilst reinforcing the city's economy at every opportunity. And that will include delivery partnerships and a positive approach to social value, but most importantly, understanding what procurement is and how people can be part of that. Talking of social value, we know this needs to be built more strategically into public sector contracts. We've had a look, actually all of us are doing social value in the city. We're saying the right things, we're not very good at mapping it or valuing it, and we need to get better at that. That's actually going to need, our suppliers will need to get better at it as well. It's a task we're going to do together. As a bit of a trail, common themes that we think will begin to unite social value work in the city will be unsurprising to you. Local supplies chains, skills development, local employment, and supporting net zero. There'll be lots of other bits, but those are key things that if we can't get in our local supply chain, we'll never see inclusive growth here in the city. We know that local businesses want to support our city. Quite often they're not quite sure what to do. We will be working with partners to assist them to be as effective as possible in whatever they want to call it, whether it's their corporate citizenship, their employer-supported volunteering, their corporate social responsibility, or just being a good business and neighbour. So we're going to work on a shopping list of geographies that they could make a big impact on and activities where they could make a real difference. And there'll be some sweet spots there linked with other activity in the city where local businesses' small contributions can be amplified, and by working together, we can see some transformative change. For a number of decades, you've been actively promoting community control and ownership of assets. And those assets that generate positive economic-driven social outcomes for the city. We've already heard from James and Lindsay. The Theatre Royal and Real Ideas are very tangible expressions exemplifying exactly that. So too are our community economic development trusts and the work of Plymouth Energy Community. It's maybe not a coincidence that the council has been sort of pivotal to those successful organisations. We don't control them, but they couldn't succeed without our inputs and ongoing support. We want to do more of that, and to do that, we're going to identify new pipelines for future investment to support community ownership and control going forward in ways that support economics. It's not just about being nice, having a nice time. It's what can that do to support the growth of the city at the same time. Leader, you spoke earlier about lifting 3,000 people out of poverty. That won't just happen because it's a massive task and it will need very concentrated work. So we've started delving into our data sets because it's only by understanding that we can make a real difference. If we were to look at the hourly rates of pay in the city across everything and average them, men earn 21% more than women. It's £4 an hour more. I think it's unacceptable that 80% of women in employment in Plymouth earn less than the national median pay. If we're going to lift people out of poverty, the biggest place we can make that difference in Plymouth is by supporting women. if we can support women, it will also support the work that Stephen's doing on Thrive. It'll support the work that's being done on adult social care. It will put more money into homes, meaning we can actually have people supporting their families better and children better, and actually provide more support in schools. This is not just about putting more money in some people's pockets. This is about changing the future of people in the city for generations to come. And so we are going to take this serious, and we're not going to let this lie. You might have spotted on Saturday the council's statement for International Women's Day identified this as an issue that we will address. And I'd like to thank Councillor Lang for doing that. Last week, I had a meeting with some of my cabinet colleagues and champions. We agreed that the council would convene a group of leading businesswomen to advise us, and also a cabinet level group to give strategic leadership for us in this area and this agenda, and provide support to the work that Lindsay and I and others will be doing. You might have spotted the council comms on Saturday also mentioned that leading business women's group, mentioned some people who are going to be on it, and we are very open to people who are leading business women in the city to come forward to help us think differently. Leader, inclusive growth is all about partnerships. We can't do it. We can convene, we can facilitate, but ultimately it's a city approach. It's about making radical change to support our local residents to thrive. This is inclusive growth in action, and that's what we'll be doing. Thank you.
Well said, Chris. Thank you very much indeed. Last but not least, Jemima, our Deputy Leader.
Thank you, Leader. It's quite hard to follow James, to be honest, but suffice to say I'm absolutely thrilled that this plan recognises the impact that culture can have on the more hard economic outputs, tourism, creative industries, regeneration, talent attraction and retention, skills, PR and branding, inward investment, to name but a few. And this confidence relays a strong message to the government and organisations such as Arts Council, Creative UK, National Lottery Heritage Fund and other trusts and foundations. It makes a point that we are a good investment. We're ready to co-invest and we will spend your money well. Something that means a great deal to me also is the opportunity for cultural education with this plan and the opportunities for young people seeking long-term careers. And finally, we've invested a lot in the city centre and have ambitions for 10,000 homes, but it's the cultural sector that will make the place. And I'm so excited to see how we can collaborate going forward with Theatre Royal Plymouth, Arts University and Plymouth University. And I'm also excited that this plan will look at making positive interventions in the north of the city, building on the innovation we are seeing in the hospital and the science park. And I'm really looking forward to being able to bring more cultural experiences into the north of the city. And maybe it will be less Dick Whittington, but more Goldilocks. This plan will make sure that Plymouth is just right for everybody who lives here now, and just right for those who are going to make the choice in the future to make their home here. Thanks very much, Leader.
Terrific, terrific. Thank you very much indeed. So, big day, big day. Well said, everybody. And now it's time for the talking to stop and it's time to do, as they say. So let's start by agreeing the recommendations on page 2, which is that we agree to the revised economic strategy with the addition of the delivery plan and delegate final approval to the leader of the council, whoever they may be. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. And once again, can I thank all the officers of the council who've worked so hard to bring us this strategy today and the delivery plan as well. A finer group of people, it would be hard to imagine, and we're so lucky to have them. But can I thank our guests, Richard and Lindsay and James, for coming along and being so brilliant today in bringing this strategy alive. Thank you, and we'll see you again very soon. We now move to item 8 on the agenda. I suppose for the second time today, I have to say that I don't remember a time when I was quite excited just bringing a report to the Cabinet, but I'm going to say it again. Because this is the untold story of our incredible ports. The people of Plymouth will know a bit about our 4 ports, Catdown, Sutton Harbour, Millbay and of course Denport, but until now, the collective impact and potential of the ports has never really been fully understood. So let me give you a few facts to help illustrate this. Plymouth employs more people in the marine sector than any other local authority in the country, more than Barrow in Furness, more than twice the number employed in Southampton. Plymouth's marine and defence sector employs more than 20,000 people, which is 18% of the city's workforce. Devonport Dockyard is the largest naval base in Western Europe and is the largest land user in the city, covering 650 hectares with 14 dry docks, 25 tidal berths and 4 miles of docks. There are 16 leisure and boat yards around the Sound, including 1,400 gold anchor berths, which I'm told are the 5-star hotels of marine berths. 12 cruise ships visit Plymouth every year, with plans for more than double this number in the coming years. Plymouth's ports are at the forefront of marine technology and innovation, including research organisations and companies at the cutting edge of work to develop autonomous vessels and floating offshore wind. Plymouth Sound's natural environment is really important. It's part of the National Marine Park and is home to over 1,000 species. Over 6,000 hectares are in an area of special scientific interest. And I think it'd be hard for anyone listening to that list not to be impressed by the scale and diversity of our port operations. The ports and the industry and businesses which they support not only underpin the economy and the life of the city, but are of regional and national significance. Now, as a council, we therefore have a responsibility to ensure that the ports continue to thrive and prosper. Whilst the council doesn't play a direct role in port operations, we have an important role to play in supporting the future development and growth of the ports through our role as an advocate, city leader, and by creating a supportive policy environment. We've identified 6 areas in the plan to focus on. Number 1, to invest in and develop maritime skills as a key enabler of future growth and to anchor the benefits of this growth in local communities. 2, to preserve space for the ports through further detailed work to determine future requirements. Thirdly, to maintain Plymouth's expertise in innovation and marine autonomy, clean propulsion and digital ocean technology. Fourthly, foster communication and collaboration to promote Plymouth's ports and to identify and drive forward new initiatives. Fifthly, to support investment in infrastructure to ensure that the ports remain competitive. And sixth, to recognise the significant role that the ports can play in preparing for net zero and the opportunity and benefits that this could deliver in productivity and job creation. And we believe if we deliver against these objectives, there is a massive prize, which is the potential to create an additional 2,600 jobs in and around our ports by 2030. I'm absolutely thrilled to have Richard Allen, the Harbour Master for Catwater Harbour Commissioners, who's going to say a bit now about the opportunity for the port sector in Plymouth. Richard, thanks for coming today.
No problem at all, Leader, Cabinet. Thank you for the invitation and the chance to speak to you about a place that's not only shaped the history of Britain, but still does play a crucial role in trade, defence, exploration, and that's the Dockyard Port of Plymouth. But this is personal because it also shaped me. I did write here, I'm more Drake than Dick Whittington, but I put a line through that after the Deputy Leader jumped in with that one. So I also left the city in 2002 as a young, wide-eyed cadet, had my Plymouth Argyle flag stowed in my backpack, ready to sail the world and the seven seas. I've worked in many ports, from Aberdeen to Jebel Ali to Ballypacpan to Mobile in Alabama. Always, there's someone from Plymouth or someone who studied maritime in Plymouth, no matter where you go in the world. There is no doubt that we are a proud seafaring city, and over 20 years at sea, it was my privilege to then come ashore and work in my home port. I'm the Chief Executive of Catwater Harbour, and at Catwater Harbour, I'm supported by a young, hungry, highly professional and proud team that we need to keep pushing to inspire and provide more opportunities to our growing workforce. An example for jobs is one person working in a commercial port supports 7 indirect jobs. There is also a thriving marine and dockside apprenticeship programme, and the port is in a good place at the moment with a gentle following wind. It is a shame that Plymouth has recently ceased training seafaring officers after many decades of success, but this has opened up other training and skill opportunities such as sea regs. Plymouth is home to the marine apprenticeship training, and Turnchapel Wharf operators support further courses for maritime professionals and develop, and we should be rightly proud that the ports and operators across Europe and the UK send their people here to Plymouth to train. An example of that is the courses that are now getting taught in Plymouth. I used to have to fly to Dubai, Singapore, every time on my leave to complete those courses. And that's not the apprenticeship, that's highly paid marine experts who are now flying to Plymouth to stay in our hotels, to embrace the city and do those courses. I never thought that would happen, but what an achievement. Plymouth's maritime legacy is truly monumental. It dates back hundreds of years, through times of war and peace. Plymouth has been a pillar of Britain's naval defences, playing a decisive role in conflicts from the Napoleonic Wars, World Wars, Falkland conflict, and still works to keep us safe today. Beyond our proud military heritage, the Port of Plymouth remains an economic powerhouse and is recognised as the main shipping hub in the southwest, with more movements than any other port in the region. It facilitates trade, supports local businesses, and provides thousands of well-paid jobs. From cargo and vital ferry transport to autonomy and tourism, the port is a lifeline and facilitator for industries, hospitality, import and export that keep the region thriving. But Plymouth is not just about its past, it's a port with a future. It is a key piece of national infrastructure, and I am honoured to be here with you today at what I think will be shown to be a very special moment in the port's history as the Council publishes its port strategy. And together with its partners and our partners across the waterscape, we, the Harbour Authority, as the current custodians, ensure the port, the city, our people and the wider southwest and the country will continue to be well served by our thriving port and those that work in it, on it, and sometimes under it, as mentioned earlier. As the technology drives growth, innovation and sustainability, the port is at the forefront of marine innovation, reducing emissions in our vessels and wharf plant, scoping for new infrastructure that will ensure Plymouth can provide facilities for cleaner, greener ships, not just the ones entering service now, but for the designs that haven't even been thought of yet. It is a dynamic area and we must be bold. Our Victorian-era wharfs have served us well, but we must now work in earnest to bring forward the projects and investment that ensures we stay ahead of the curve and future-proof our strategic assets. Across the city, businesses have ambitious plans to reach net zero, and so does the port. We are also on that ladder, climbing it one step at a time, aiming for continual improvement. Projects completed and also underway include shore power, solar panels, carbon accounting benchmarking, use of hydrogen, HVO, hydrogen vegetated oil going into our vessels, the expansion of seaweed and kelp growth, water flow equals electricity, floating solar, and 24/7 water testing that we're currently undertaking with an autonomous vessel, to name but a few. But this city and manufacturing businesses across the southwest will only achieve their net zero targets if we continue to rise to the challenge and invest in our ports and strive to take more goods off the roads and onto ships, which are the cleanest form of transport per tonne carried. This year, we, the Catwater Harbour, our operations have facilitated over 2 million tonnes of cargo imported and exported into the city. This has taken nearly 55,000 long-distance lorry journeys off the road. I wrote down 27 articulated lorries from the Theatre Royal there, so that's an aim of me, to get those onto the ships and move them to Hamburg before they go on to America. I am proud we keep this trend as others elsewhere manage to climb, but this doesn't happen by accident. It takes vision, dedication, diversification, action and investment throughout the operational supply chain. And that is why it is vital to us and all the operators across the port that we have a forward-looking council who is informed, aware aware and aligned to this paper. It demonstrates that we do, and I'm grateful to all those involved in producing it. In conclusion, the Port of Plymouth is more than just a harbour. It's a symbol of our resilience, ambition, and connection to the world. Whether in history, defence, trade, or innovation, Plymouth continues to play a vital role in shaping our nation's story. It is up to us to protect the port, think strategically long-term, investing in its future, and ensuring that it remains a beacon of progress for generations of Plymouthians, not just to be part of, but to be proud of too. Thank you, Leader, and thank you for your Cabinet for driving this paper forward and to bringing it to your Cabinet today. It's not just for our benefit or your benefit, but I also really do think it's for the wider city's benefit going forward. And just to bring it back to a little bit of practicalities, on your desk, the Cabinet members, you've got a small jam jar, and that's just a range of some of the cargoes that are imported and exported almost daily within the ports here in Plymouth. Don't ask me what they all are, but they are written on the bottom, but there's a wide range of products there. That's just a small percentage of what comes in and out. And this weekend, and what's going on today in the port, we've had 2 ships discharging over 60 million tonnes worth of cargo, as in the value of the cargo. One of them arrived at 1 o'clock this morning, so that's the second load coming ashore now. We've got 2 ships currently loading in Plymouth. They're due to be exporting in Egypt and Sweden. They're going to be leaving later on today. My team are getting ready, putting in a restricted area for the first cruise ship visit of the season tomorrow. So we've got just under 1,000 passengers coming into Plymouth waterfront tomorrow. And my team are supporting 2 autonomous vessels, the new vessels taken to the water in the last weeks, and they're operating in the Plymouth Sound and south of the Plymouth Sound. That's just an example of what's going on in the port today and over the last 24, 48 hours. Don't touch some of the products. I should have said that first.
I thought that was all right at times.
They're not sweets.
No, I know they're not sweets, though. I thought it was lime. I think it's limestone.
I did mention it to people beforehand, so some people were listening to the health and safety announcement. No. It's inspiring what's going on. I think, like a lot of things on the waterfront, Richard, people see stuff, but they don't appreciate just how complex everything is, how important everything is, and the potential of all of those things. It's astonishing what's been achieved. And I must say, you've brought to us in the council a real appreciation of the work of the port, of your port, and what you have done in terms of, for example, we talked about the Barbican landing stage and the pontoon and everything you've done in that, and what you've been doing in terms of keeping an eye on some of our antiquated heritage around the place. We couldn't be more grateful for what you've been doing. You're a real ambassador for your industry and your sector, but also a real ambassador for the city, and thank you very much. This in some small way, I hope, supports your incredible efforts and that of your Trust Port. David, you're here, and I wondered if you wanted to say, and I'm so pleased to see Ian here as well, who's done such a lot of work on this strategy. So David first, and then...
Well, I might do it the other way around, if that's all right.
Of course.
I'll say a few things at the end, but I think, Ian, do you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you. I have to say it's been a real privilege to be involved in the commissioning and management of this work. I was, of course, aware when I started it about the importance of marine and defence sectors in Plymouth, but it's been genuinely surprising and exciting to see the details emerge. For me, beyond the numbers and the detail that's in the report, what this work has revealed is that the ports of Plymouth are the foundation of a thriving, complex, highly evolved and dynamic ecosystem with an incredible diversity of facilities, businesses and skills. So the strategy is therefore advocating for evolution rather than an urgent course correction to build on what's already there. And that, I think, is a really good news story. It highlights the work that the council is already doing and offering a great deal of support to the work of the harbour authorities and port operators. and provides a really compelling case for ongoing engagement. So just to summarise, I think the strategy represents a starting point. It's a recognition of the vital role that the ports of Plymouth play in the economy and the life of the city, an evidence base to inform and support future policy development, and a framework for coordinated action to ensure that the ports continue to thrive for the benefit of Plymouth and indeed the wider regional and national economy. Thank you.
Fantastic, and I really do mean thank you for what you've done. It's fantastic. David.
This is probably going to talk to both reports if I can, Chair. There's a little bit of reference to the economic strategy as well. So there's a phrase in economic development that says if you're doing it by yourself, you're probably doing it wrong. So I think the first thing I just want to say is to just thank the staff. I know you did it earlier, but on the previous one, the work of Mike, Amanda Ratsey, Julia Blaschke and Tina Brinkworth is brilliant, and obviously Ian and Matt behind. They're a group of people who care so much, and you know, they go above and beyond every day, as I know you know. And then the other point is our partners, and you know, to have partners of the seniority giving their time up to endorse the work we're doing, I think just speaks volumes to our approach. The other thing I wanted to mention is that strategies in economic development teams have a reputation for being entirely generic, and if you rubbed off the title, you'd be able to put any city and it would be recognisable. It would have a digital strand, it would have you name it. But this strategy could only happen here, and I think that was one of the things that we set out to do. And I think in rediscovering our ports, that talks to that point more than anything else, or our defence work or anything. This strategy could only happen in Plymouth. It is entirely of Plymouth, and we should be really proud of that. And then the final thing to say is this is only possible here because this council's prioritised growth. It wouldn't happen if we hadn't done that. We wouldn't have the capacity. It builds on track record, so this isn't, you know, just arrived out of the blue. This is a 15 years worth of commitment and effort that we've all put in together. And also uniquely our appetite to intervene and co-invest, which has come because of decisions that are made by politicians to retain capacity and to invest. So we're thrilled to have the chance to do this stuff, but to do it with our partners and elected members is why we get up in the morning. So thank you all for your support.
That's wonderful. I mean, we've, over the last year or two, we've been probably visiting parts of the city that we've probably not paid enough attention to. I mean, I'm still struck by, you know, David Mackey's words about us being a city that had turned its back on the sea. That's 20 odd years ago, right? And we've been trying to put that right ever since. But I think what this strategy really reveals is there is a huge future for marine transport going forward. Richard, with his almost throwaway line about the decarbonisation, I mean, I'm struck by that poster on the wall in your office about the carbon per tonne of cargo moved by various transport mechanisms, and to see maritime transport, which has a bad rep, and it shouldn't, because per tonne it is actually the cleanest form of transport there is, and there is huge opportunity here for doing something spectacular. Before I close, Chris, you wanted to say a few words. Sorry, I apologise for not calling you in.
Don't worry. Thank you, Leader. Speaking more as a ward member than as a cabinet member here, I represent a ward which is quite unusual in Plymouth in that more of it is in the water than it is on the land, because we go all the way out to the breakwater. And looking at the map here, actually, Associated British Ports in its entirety, almost all of the Sutton Harbour work, part of the Catwater Commission, and a big chunk of His Majesty's harbour master, are all in my ward. And these are high value jobs in the most deprived ward in the city. And I think, yeah, just harping back to what I was saying just now, this really matters because we need those jobs and we need to inspire people locally to take those jobs, to train for those jobs, to tell the local stories of people who've done those jobs, because this is really important. But as a ward member, can I just say, it's really exciting to see joined up thinking about important parts of the ward that were previously not joined up. And I remember in the past there not being that sort of conversation, which made it really difficult. So just wanted to say this is fantastic. From a ward perspective, it's nice to be able to see something like this in front of us.
Lovely. Well, I don't want to make a song and a dance about it, but actually, there's huge growth potential here, and for us to be part of trying to play our part, a small but perfectly formed part it might be. The heavy lifting will be done by the port operators. We understand that, but it's an area that we have not done as much as we could have in the past. Things have got on quite well without the City Council's involvement, but I'm sure with the backing of the City Council and this plan, we can go on to bigger and better things. There is a huge potential in this sector, driven by inspirational leaders like you, Richard, and we're really excited about this strategy today. So could I invite you to agree with the recommendation that's here, which is on page 109 of the supplement pack that came out this morning, which is the Cabinet notes the key findings and approves the Plymouth Ports strategy. Agreed. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Good luck. Bon voyage. And thank you for your continued support, Richard. It's very much appreciated. You're doing amazing things in this city, and I wish more people knew what you do, because it is fantastic for us, for the economy, and for and you know, just that. Just as an aside, we talked about the cruise ships. I mean, going down and seeing what you did there to bring cruise ships into the heart of our city and our tourist area. A small adjustment, it may seem, but actually a massive leap forward for us. And we know that it's contributing hugely to people's enjoyment and repeat business in that sector. So once again, that's just a small example of your genius. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on now, and thank you for attending today, Richard. And we'll see you in London later. Would you like your car go, or should we return it to you at a later date? Thank you very much. I'm going to move on to item. I thought did I not do the recommendations? I thought I did. Yeah.
He obviously wasn't listening.
Yeah, he obviously wasn't listening, because I'm sure I mentioned page 109 in the supplement pack which arrived this morning. It's good to know that the finance officer is on it this morning. Hopefully there's no items for him on the agenda today. I'm going to move now. Item number 9 is the Creative Industries Plan. Is Hannah here? Okay, well, I'll pause for a minute. Now, our small but perfectly formed cabinet is getting smaller because I think Chris is going over to the Commonwealth flag raising, and Mark's gone in his DLM role, council.
Steve and Emma have gone to represent senior officers.
Yeah. And Steve and Emma have gone to represent senior officers at the flag raising, so that's great. Okay. Hello, everybody. It's lovely to see you. It's been so long. Since you've been away, we've had another bit of magnificence revealed to us today. And this is the third leg of our amazing day at the office today, isn't it? Because we've got a creative industries plan. Now, this was released this morning in the supplement pack, pages 1 to 48, in case you were wondering where it was. Once again, I welcome Hannah Harris, CEO of Plymouth Culture, Lindsay back with us, James back with us, and Professor Chris. Great to see you. Thank you for coming. It's huge. I mean, you know, like you say, it's incredible how much today is going to mean for the future of our city, and this is just a remarkable thing. To have one of these things done in a day is amazing, but to have something which of a sector which we heard earlier on from Lindsay is growing so fast, it's just so exciting. So I'm going to ask, if you don't mind, Jemima's going to take care of this one, but these fine people who are our guests, I'm sure will have much to say on this subject in a moment. So Jemima, over to you, please.
Thank you, Lydia. I'm going to introduce it. I've got a lot of talking to do today, my voice being so dodgy. Anyway, so this is very exciting, this Creative Industries Plan. It represents such an exciting opportunity for Plymouth. We know the importance and value of the sector to the UK, but this plan now provides us with data specific to the city, enabling us to identify our strengths and also the scale of the opportunity. The creative industries in Plymouth currently comprises 648 registered companies, employs approximately 5,000 people, with a further 4,000 in the wider creative economy, accounts for 2.1% of employment in Plymouth, and contributes nearly 135 million in GVA. The creative industries are like no other sector in terms of the multiplier and spillover impact that they have. For example, the sector supports 1.9 additional jobs in leisure and retail for every creative job, and generates a further 50 pence in other sectors for every £1 contributed in GVA. The Great Southwest has the joint fastest creative industries job growth of any British region between 2019 and 2022 at 4.1%. Plymouth has the opportunity to position itself as the urban capital of this region and capture this growth. And we've calculated that if Plymouth's creative industries job share reached close to the Southwest average, it would generate 1,640 jobs in Plymouth and would generate an additional 90 to 126 million GVA per year for the local authority district. So not only does this align with the city's growth ambitions, but it supports our inclusive growth agenda due to the social value also offered by the sector. We've long been a supporter of the cultural sector, with the city, council and party as a constant champion. Against a backdrop of national cuts and economic crisis, we've continued to invest in culture because we recognise its value and significant contribution to our city, to our society and to our residents. This strategic approach has been very successful, securing external partnerships and investment which has enabled us to develop and grow our cultural infrastructure. This approach has made possible capital projects like the Box and Market Hall, as well as ensuring we maintain Arts Council investment of over 4 million each year in 8 of our cultural organisations. This same methodology of tailored strategy, partnership and investment is now required for the creative industries. We know that the cultural sector and creative industries are connected, but they're not one and the same thing. Therefore, we need a tailored strategy to consider the unique aspects of the creative industries and move from organic to strategic growth. This is the right time to build on the cultural foundation and align with city and national strategy. As outlined in the industrial strategy, the creative industries have rightly been identified as one of the 8 growth sectors, and this is mirrored within our city economic development plan, as you've just heard. So this plan is timely and well considered, meaning investment in and growth of the creative industries will complement our wider city agenda and the ambitions set out in the Growth Alliance Plan and Economic Strategy. Thank you, Leader. I'm not sure who I'm handing to, but one of those fabulous people over there.
Thank you, Jemima. That's terrific. So shall we start with you, Hannah?
Thank you so much, and thank you for outlining that, Councillor Lang. I just wanted to spend a few minutes just talking about the national alignment here and why kind of now is the real time for us to land this, and a great opportunity for us. We've actually all been involved in some creative summits recently that have, I think, just reiterated the importance of this work and the timeliness of it as well. So the Creative UK conference was held across Devon and Cornwall a few weeks ago. The head of policy there, when asked what could the region do to really put itself on the national conversation, said our strongest negotiation with government is our ability to articulate the relationship between the creative industries and other sectors. And she emphasised that no other region was taking that approach, and it would literally leapfrog us into conversations. Everyone's claiming they've got the sector, everyone's claiming they've got growth, but no one can genuinely talk about the alignment with other sectors, particularly defence and marine and manufacturing. Similarly, that was emphasised further at the Creative UK Summit that we were in attendance at only last week, when Lisa Nandy, in her presentation, stated that you cannot have a defence sector fit for the future without the creative industries. And she further went on to say that we need investment in the full ecosystem to unlock the sector's full potential. And what she was really talking about there was this, as we have heard, this alignment between the cultural sector and the creative industry sector as a full spectrum. One feeds the other and vice versa. And because we've done all the work within the cultural sector, now is the time to really capitalise on what is possible within the creative industries. At that same conference, Professor Chris Smith, who is the Chief Executive of AHRC, which is Arts Humanities Research Council, when asked what we should do now, said, trust in the power of the creative industries. And fundamentally, we have long put our trust in the creative industries and culture, and all of these conversations at a national level now are starting to recognise the same thing. So it is absolutely the time to align, to trust and to grow the sector. And we have been built in our confidence that what we've presented to you today in terms of the Creative Industries Plan is incredibly robust. It is absolutely deliverable, and it is the right time for us to be pushing on this agenda both locally and nationally. I'm going to hand to Lindsay and then James and then Chris to say a few words from their perspective.
Okay, thank you, Hannah, and lovely to see you all again. Brilliant. So what I'm going to do is just try and give you perhaps a little bit of a flavour of what this means in practice using Dazzle as an example. So I think some of you probably came, and so that was a festival of light, creativity and heritage in Devonport. And a variety of things came together which really made that work. And so we were very lucky to get some investment from Shared Prosperity from the council, which allowed us to run the Devonport Futures project last year. And that was all about skills development. So that was making sure that what we were doing was investing in skills development around the types of immersive skills that were then needed for a festival like Dazzle. And so what was brilliant there was we had a whole load of people come through, and we had two streams. So we had one stream where we were working with Plymouth Community Homes and working with young people and older people actually in the community who wanted to develop those skills. And these were people who were economically inactive and wanting to find new ways forward. And then also established companies who didn't have the skills needed for the next generation of immersive experiences. And so we were also developing those skills as well. And out of that, I'm really proud to say that we did have several people who then came, participated in Dazzle, did their work experience, and even produced commissioned work for the festival. So if you remember the fantastic work on the staircase in the market hall, that was somebody who had actually gone on that journey. So that was a sort of, how do you take somebody who, is obviously very talented, but actually get to them to the point where they've got paid work in the creative industries. And she is now, she was actually picked up, and she's now looking at other commissions and moving on. So that's partly what we're talking about. How do we create the vehicles that allow those journeys to happen? how do we also make sure that we are marrying those up with really established world-leading companies that we have in this area? And so the people who did the production and technical for the festival are John Hibditch. Some of you will know him. He's very well established. He works right across the country doing amazing work, making sure that we've got enough work for him to also be based in Plymouth, not just because it's great to have him here, but also because he is really committed, again, to wanting to train people of the future. So he had various apprentices and work experience people with him. And Media Workshop, who, again, are globally known for the work they did, who did the amazing projections on the tower blocks. What it has done has given us a sort of little tiny kickstart of what we're talking about. How do we go from a cultural experience, which about 20,000 people came to? I think everybody was a bit amazed. I did have several people say to me, I've lived in Plymouth for years, but I've never been to Devonport. I was a bit shocked about that. But, you know, actually, you sort of think, well, that's partly because we haven't given them the sort of, you know, cultural experiences, creative experiences to come. So we can change that. So that it was successful from an audience point of view. It was also very successful in terms of how we start that journey, you know, to support our companies. It's the beginning. It gave us a flavour of how the Creative Quarter could work. What's very important in the Creative Industries Plan is this notion of clusters. There's a lot of research that shows that creative industries need to cluster to succeed. And one of the interesting things is that we have actually a lot of creative industries, but they're quite dispersed. So what we're doing through the plan is saying, how do we begin to build those sorts of clusters? So one of those at Devonport. And it's already happening organically, but we need to supercharge it. And in fact, this week we've got 2 sort of premieres of pieces of work that are being created by different companies using the Market Hall as a research, one of which is linked to the marine industry, Different View Media. They do a lot of work with M-Subs. They were up at the Creative Summit. They were demonstrating these amazing bits of tech that they have 3D printed to carry 360 cameras through water. So there's a production which is about the journey of water from the moors to the sea. That will be available for everybody to see very soon. We are a partner with them on their Innovate project, and that's fantastic to see that company growing and thriving. And then another one which is produced working in partnership with Screen Cornwall, which is around the temperate rainforest in Bodmin Moor. Utterly beautiful piece of work. So I think what we're seeing is that notion of how do we create the environment to allow everybody to thrive, to allow companies to grow. We know the audiences are there. We know that people will engage with this work. So that's just a little tiny flavour of the sort of thing that we're talking about through the Creative Industries Plan. James.
Thanks, Lindsay. I'll just say, give a few reflections on the work that's gone into the plan, but specifically thinking about children, young people, and the community. We have such huge opportunity to grow the work that we're already doing around cultural education. Anyone that does a job like mine knows that the power of creativity to transform your life and build your confidence is well known, but we know that there's so much more to do in terms of building a creative curriculum. We're all waiting with bated breath for the curriculum review. There's an interim report due in the next couple of weeks, being led by DFE and the Education Secretary on how the curriculum might need to broaden. But what this new cultural plan for the city says is that perhaps better than many other cities in the country of our size, we are uniquely placed given the world-leading organisations that we have in the city, both within the cultural sector and in our FE and HE partners, to ensure that all the children and young people of Plymouth are given a rich cultural education. And you all need to hear as Cabinet that we are utterly committed to working with you as Cabinet leads and local authority officers to really ensure that the children and young people of this city have access to creativity and culture. And there's a really unique opportunity to do that, both that involves all of the organisations that are sat in front of you today, but also there's such a rich community and voluntary sector within the cultural sector. So many brilliant independent musicians, freelance artists working and living in Plymouth, and joining all that together makes just the most perfect sense. And I'm delighted that the plan moves us closer to achieving some of that work. We also know through our work at the Theatre Royal that particularly our space programme, been delivered for over 15 years now, working with some of the most vulnerable people in our city, that there is so much need for creativity and cultural experiences to improve life chances and return people to the labour market. We have a real issue at the moment at TRP with our space, which is the waiting list for the Our Space programme is shockingly long. Very high number of veterans waiting to join our space. It's very difficult for us to progress veterans out of the programme and beneficiaries out of the programme, because once they're in it, they love it and don't want to move on. The role that creativity and culture can play in not just improving life chances, employability of children and young people, but also adult members of our community. Again, this city is absolutely uniquely placed to join more dots. And just before we came back in, Lindsay and I and Hannah were talking about all of the opportunity for us to work across government departments to ensure that the work of our sector is really, really connected to the ambition of the city, both in terms of defence, employability and skills. And what I want all of you here today at Cabinet to hear is that there is no other sector that's better placed, more ready, more able, more skilled than us in the creative and cultural sector at this time to deliver not just your plans for the creativity of the city, but your plans for the economic success of all of our residents more broadly. Thank you.
Oh, you got your own. Well, that's okay. I can use that. Or not. Hi, everybody. So you probably had our, I think I saw Richard on the way out earlier, so the Vice-Chancellor's been here earlier talking to you. But I'm hoping that you'll get a sense there's been a massive change in terms of how the university views itself as a civic player in this city, and the role that we want to play in the success of Plymouth. And creative industries is a big part of that, I think, and what we can offer from the kind of creative and cultural side of things, but also I think more broadly in terms of the kind of coastal community elements that we're doing. So we're up in Parliament this evening launching the On the Waterfront report, and that report actually has 4 or 5 action points in the recommendations which relate to the kind of creative industries and their value specifically to to coastal communities and how they may develop things that we've heard around inclusive growth, because it's just not about the economy, it's about those kind of societal issues that can also be tackled through cultural and creative activities. So I think that's really exciting that we're doing that launch tonight, and then in May we're back up at government launching another creative industries key cities innovation network paper that we've been working on, which is specifically about the creative industries in Plymouth and the value that can bring. So again, another opportunity for us to get some visibility in government. I think just wanted to kind of pick up on the university's role in this is that, as I said, with Richard orienting us and pointing us much more towards the city and civic agenda, we have that research capability that we can kind of bring to this. So, economic data in this kind of way, social data that we can kind of glean. But we've also got our eyes on a couple of large multi-million-pound bids, the Creative Clusters bid and an AHRC demonstrator bid, which would bring money into the city to help develop the kind of infrastructures that we need to capitalise on this type of work. And there's some fantastic examples of initiatives like Creative Cardiff, where we've seen that really be successful. And also, I think the pipelines, the talent pipelines, not just us, but Plymouth City College, AUP can kind of bring, in terms of driving talent into this kind of new sector, are massive. And our new business school particularly is going to have a whole tranche of itself dedicated to looking at kind of creative and cultural industries, entrepreneurial kind of development. So lots going on there.
Well, wow, I mean, like you say, there's so much going on in this city of real quality international quality. I mean, one of the boasting bits I do on the quiet is that I do talk about your husband and his helicopters. Every time I mention it, I do. When I'm in London, I do. I just say, do you know they built 2 helicopters for different productions of Miss Saigon in Plymouth? And it's like, it blows people away, doesn't it? And just the idea that we do this stuff quietly. I mean, I remember, we were talking earlier on about historic decisions, right? And you mentioned the 70s, but there was another one which was in the 90s, where my predecessor, John Ingham, who was the chair of the Theatre Royal Board at the time, took this decision with single regeneration budget funding to plonk a theatre production facility down in Catdown on a bit of reclaimed land, and we all thought he was mad. Because, single regeneration budget, that used to be for posh railings in deprived communities and benches, not theatre production facilities. But look at what has happened as a result of that one intervention and that one decision. But it's that kind of stuff. You're sitting in front of a sign that says 2001 Achievement Awards, where we were Local Authority of the Year. And the reason we got that in 21 was because of our cultural placemaking. That's why we got it. And so at a time of austerity, the council has always felt it's been important. Yes, art for art's sake, but actually there's a wider thing. I keep thinking about my own dad being going into amateur dramatics in Evervale, and ending up, because he learned how to speak in public, being a leader of his trade union. I mean, you know what I mean? It's that sort of stuff about how it lifts and shifts people, and it can. I mean, that's the power of it. But also, there's this other power in there, which is, the power to empower people to believe that they can be more than they think they can. And what you do, all of you do, is you lift people up. And you give them a new horizon and a new place to aim for. You do it all every day, and whether you appreciate you do that or not, I'm very grateful for what you all do. I think you're doing magnificent work for social inclusion, yes, for the economy of the city, yes, for the livability of the city, yes, for the work of your own institutions, but collectively it makes Plymouth a greater place. So I'm grateful to you. And what this is now is us putting, again, our faith in you, faith in the sector. But actually, I think it's a no-brainer. If you look at the talent available to us in this sector alone, I mean, how can we fail? How can we fail? Because we have so many people who care about their craft, and they care about the city, and they care about their institutions so much. It takes your breath away. So I find ourselves, we're really lucky to have you. And there are people who are not here around this table today who we would also want to say thank you to. It's just a fantastic place. And, I do get slightly, not annoyed, that's the wrong word, but one of the things I want to do is to keep bigging up Plymouth's creative sector. Even more now, given what you said about Lisa and Andy, we've got a couple of things to do, I think. We've got to make sure that when that curriculum paper comes out, that if it doesn't say what we want it to say, we need to make sure that we say what it should say. And what it should say is that if defence communities like Plymouth are to succeed, we want the right to have excellence in our creative and cultural places and spaces for the well-being of the city, but actually is fundamental to the future economic well-being of the city as well, for the reasons you've outlined. That thing around creative thinking, that thing about critical thinking, that thing about pushing the envelope, and all those things which we absolutely need in the innovation space in the defence futures, has got to come through people in school and in college feeling that those are subjects that they should be studying and they should be part of, because they can make careers, make money, make a space for themselves. And that's what you do. You bring people through who might otherwise not succeed in life, and it's fantastic, your commitment to all of that. And on that veterans thing, I think we've got to have, there are conversations we need to have with those organisations that have a lot of money for veteran care, and to see if we can't do something even more spectacular in that space than we're able to do at the moment. And I'd love to have a conversation with you about that in future. So what have we got to do today? We've got to... Sorry, I do apologise, David. Of all the people to ignore, I do apologise. David and I actually, we have invented a no new school of pretension, as the saying goes, and we are very happy in this space now. But David, I want to bring
I was only going to say two things. The first is just perhaps pull out the work of Hannah, who I think has been an amazing leader and advocate. And we have to keep reminding ourselves, I think you've got 2 members of staff, haven't you, or something like that. So I think if there was an output to staff ratio, it would be the best productivity of the city. And this is why we work in partnership. What you've seen today, that's why we commissioned Plymouth Culture. The City Council, we could have done this in-house, would have probably be capable to do it in-house, but actually look at the quality of what you've got. And then the other reflection was very simple, really, which was in 2012, the council in its infinite wisdom gave me responsibility for culture. At the time, I hadn't visited the museum, which is interesting where we ended up. But I immediately put culture at the centre of the economic plan, when it was pretty unfashionable to do so, I think, back in 2012. And we set up Plymouth Culture and employed the first, your predecessor. And I just hope it's absolutely obvious why we did that from what you can see today. So, I'm thrilled, and we're going to keep backing it, because pound for pound, they describe it as the Heineken of economic development initiatives. It gets to places that other initiatives can't reach. I think that's a great way to think about investment in this space.
So. Well, that's great. It's only 11 o'clock, so it's too early for Heineken. But it's not too early to say thank you very much for today, and thank you very much for all you do. David, I do want to thank you as well, because you do an amazing amount of work in this space as well, and we've had some fun in this space as well as some difficult conversations from time to time. But it is really great to see that effort and that hard work paying off. I mean, I launched a manifesto in 2008 called Creative Plymouth on the back of Sally Craswell's husband Michael's suggestion, and nobody in this council knew what I was talking about and what we were talking about at that time. And to see where we are now, nearly 20 years on, actually, I mean, I'm thrilled beyond words. I'm thrilled beyond words about this. And, there is no reason why a dockyard city shouldn't have a rich cultural offer. As I said, there's no reason on earth. We do so much heavy lifting on behalf of the region across Cornwall and Devon. Whatever the entertainment, whatever the cultural experience, and to see the national exhibitions and this create in contemporary art here, the institutions that want to work in Plymouth now nationally, it's breathtaking, isn't it? It almost takes your breath away. It does. It really does. And so all I want to say is, let's carry on, shall we? Let's give it a little bit of a push, shall we? And let's get some real oomph behind this incredible document. What I'm really excited about it as well is, again, it's another one of those things where we're not going to leave any community in Plymouth behind. That's fundamental to this. It is for everyone. It is for everyone, and we've got to keep repeating it and keep saying it, and we will. So thank you all. I'm going to ask now if the Cabinet will vote on the 2 recommendations, which is to adopt the Creative Industries Plan and to mandate Plymouth Culture mandate Plymouth Culture to develop a full implementation plan based on the outline action plan within the Creative Industries Plan with support from the Council and city stakeholders to be presented to scrutiny and cabinet in the next financial year. So not that long, by the way, if experience is anything to tell us. Might seem a long time ago away, but it isn't. And there's a lot of work to do. But if anybody can do it, Hannah Harris, it's you. So thank you very much. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. And once again, thank you so much for giving up your time to be with us today. Fantastic. Thank you. Right. And on that bombshell, is that all right, David? We did the recommendation. Oh, thanks. Okay, so item 10 on the agenda now. I am, believe it or not, Sudan. Just for one day, as the song goes. I am Sudan just for one day. So item 10 is actually the Plymouth Active Leisure Agency model. Okay. Now, I got to tell you, when I first read the title of this paper, I really didn't understand what it was talking about, because those words might take you in a slightly different direction. But I need to explain. So Plymouth Active Leisure was created as a local authority trading company following a decision by Cabinet in August 2021. Don't know whether you remember that. But just to say, in the past year, this is just a list of some of the things that Plymouth Active Leisure has done since, and I'm calling it coming back in-house. I think I can probably use that fairly safely, that sort of title. Over 1.5 million visits last year across all its facilities. Provided £6 million worth of social value from visits last year, directly improving the health and well-being of the city. Providing free access to over 180 looked after children and care leavers last year. 52,000 residents use PAL services. That's 20% of Plymouth. And it's growing. I joined, believe it or not. You've joined as well? Sally's joined. Administered and delivered fit and fed sessions, supporting 2,850 children from most deprived areas, including 196 clubs, providing 3,096 spaces. Trained over 50 new lifeguards last year via the PAL Training Academy. Taught 6,000 children the essential life skill of learning to swim last year. That includes schools, of course. Delivered over 1,000 safe swim lessons last year in collaboration with the National Marine Park and Swim England. Reduced energy consumption by more than 10% over the last year. And in October 2024, began delivery of a unique and industry-leading programme called Active Health, aimed at tackling inequalities and improving people's health. 130 people have been through this programme, and 23 have become members. Fitness membership has grown by 27% since 2022. Aquatics memberships have grown by 45% since 2022. So we're second in the UK in the sport and leisure sector for gender pay equality. There we are, Chris Penworthy. And Plymouth Skills Builder Project, 55 people have supported with gym membership and PT sessions to become work fit. That's really important as well. As you can see from the list of successes, PAL provides a comprehensive range of programmes and services to improve and maintain health and well-being, delivering on strategic priorities for the city. Currently, PAL provides these services on behalf of Plymouth City Council through a service contract and is wholly owned by Plymouth City Council. Now, following recent changes to VAT guidance, the proposal is to adopt an agency model which will support the financial sustainability of PAL. An agency model, which is an HMRC compliant approach, which would improve the trading position by an estimated £150,000 to £250,000 annually, supporting the trading position of PAL. Over time, these savings would in turn benefit PCC as the parent company. I'm allowed to say all this out loud. Both PCC and PAL have received external legal and tax advice that support this model. PCCs following an agency model will join a large number of local authorities which are choosing to deliver their ledger services in this way, so reversing a decade of outsourcing nonsense. In agreement with Cabinet, a deed of variation will need to be completed to change the operational model of PAL. PCC will need to set prices for services provided under the agency model in line with the fees and charges policy. This is the one that was previously agreed by CMT and endorsed by us in January. Now, that's easy for me to say, but we've also got Steve and Ollie on, but the miracle of technology is also online as well. If you have any questions to ask either of them. But it seems to be fairly straightforward. It's a good thing, it's legal, and it saves the council some resources. And it enables PAL to continue on its upward journey of progress. Anything you two want to add? Would you like?
No, thank you. I think you've captured it really well, Leader. Thank you.
Okay, so I think, unless there's any questions, are we all right? I think we're okay. I think we're happy. The Cabinet are happy. Let's put down to the test. There are 3 recommendations. One is to endorse the changes to the current contract with PAL, as proposed in the report, to enable the introduction of an agency model. 2, to delegate the final agreement of the deed of variation to the current Director of Public Health in consult to the current contract to the Director of Public Health. I'm sorry about that, Steve. I didn't mean to give you palpitations there. In consultation with the Head of Finance and the Head of Legal Services. Endorse the pricing principles to be applied to set prices for the leisure services the Council will provide from the 1st of April 25 using PAL as the agent. And last but not least, delegate authority to the Director of Public Health to determine and set the final detailed list of fees and charges for these services in accordance with the principles detailed in the paper. Okay, so that's all pretty straightforward, I think. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much indeed. That's very kind of you all. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to step outside to do a BBC interview on this big day we've had at the office. So I wondered now, please, if Jemima would take item 11, please, the supported accommodation for young people. Could I leave you to chair, please, while I do that?
You can.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. So I'll invite myself to introduce this item. Oh, bless you, Sally. Providing, oh, I'll wait for Emma to. Okay. Providing safe, welcoming and caring homes for our children and young people in care remains one of the most important things that the Council does. And we know that our children in care and those who are care experienced need choices about where they live, particularly as they become young adults. And we want to make sure they have the opportunity, if they're ready, to start to live more independently with support available to guide them. Our 16+ supported accommodation provides that choice in a range of shared houses and flats, and helping young people to learn how to budget, how to cook, and how to prepare for life as adults until they're ready to move on. Around 100 young people a year who are in the Council's care are placed in 16+ accommodation, with the majority able to live in Plymouth to keep their links with family and friends, education and training, and support for their health needs. Cabinet will remember full Council adopting care experience as a protected characteristic in March 2023, as we talked about in an earlier agenda item. And these types of homes for our young people support those in care, aged 16 and 17, as well as those with care experience who are 18 and over. This contract is one of the practical ways in which we live our commitment to those with care experience, supporting our care experienced young people to build the skills that will help them in their lives as adults. So I'm now going to hand over to Emma to tell us a bit more. Thank you.
Thank you. So this contract's been in place since April 2021 and includes our local providers. And this is from individual flats to bedrooms in shared houses that look very much like student accommodation, but with staff available 24 hours a day. It also includes some homes that are outside Plymouth and further afield for those times when we can't place our young people in the city as much as we would like to. The providers are on hand daily to provide practical and emotional support and encourage young people to carry on with their education and training and attend health appointments. Many offer really sort of family-based, warm environments and encourage activities like film nights and roast dinners designed to build connections and peer support. And many of our providers here stay in touch with our young people long after they've moved on. We've been keeping them busy, or rather Ofsted have been keeping them busy. So all our 16 plus providers have recently been registering with Ofsted as part of new regulations nationally, which are designed to make sure that our young people are really well looked after, and there's a framework around that to ensure that. All of our local providers have engaged really well with this and also been supportive of one another through that process, joining our 16 plus provider forum to share their ideas and experiences and challenges. They've really risen to the challenge of a new set of requirements and now preparing for their first Ofsted inspections, and we wish them luck with that. This 2-year contract variation will allow all of them to be inspected during that time and help us to then further understand the numbers and types of homes that we will need as we look to the future for our young people. And I brought some of my team with me.
Yes, I apologise, sorry, because I've taken over from Tudor there. Caroline, you've waited very patiently. Caroline Patterson, who's our Strategic Commissioning Manager, and Chris Wilshire, Commissioning Manager. And I don't know if either of you would like to say anything.
It was more really to just introduce you to some of the team that do the work. As you know, I like to come along here and show off on a regular basis, but these are other guys who actually do the hard work. So Caroline heads up our regulated care team in commissioning, which covers the whole of children and adults regulated care, both Ofsted and CQC registered. And Chris is a newer member of the team who joined us last autumn from elsewhere in the council, but is our children's commissioning officer. So with a real focus on working with our children's placement providers across fostering, residential, 16 plus as well. So spending a lot of time out there, meeting people, getting to know what we've got and working with the providers to stay on track. I don't know if you want to.
Please go ahead, Chris.
Hello. Sorry, it was just to add on top of what Emma has already said. In the process of going out and meeting the providers, I just thought it was important to share that the young people that our providers do support, the relational approach that they have with our young people is really important, and in terms of ensuring the consistency of their quality. I think it really has been evident while I've been going out and meeting them. Just wanted to add that.
Thank you. That's really, really reassuring to hear. Oh, Councillor Lowry wanted to come in.
This is a contract extension from 2021. Given Chris's comments about the relationship between the provider and the young children being intricately sort of important to everybody, is it our intention at the end of this 2-year period for us to go through another tender process? And obviously, if that is the case, these are complex contracts that take an awful lot of time. So hopefully we'll be presenting back to Cabinet their proposal for a re-tender exercise, because they are very lengthy and they're very sort of procedural and somewhat legal now as well, aren't they? So I would be very keen to see the programme going forward, please.
That's absolutely right. So obviously the new procurement regulations came in not about 10 days ago. So we're now operating under a completely different procurement regime, which actually gives us quite a bit more flexibility actually in how we can design procurements, which is really helpful. But that's absolutely right. We would intend to re-procure this under those new regulations in time for this contract to expire. It's not our intention to keep rolling contracts on unnecessarily. With this one, this was done because the providers have all recently been through a significant change in terms of their Ofsted registration. They're performing really well, delivering really good outcomes for us. At this point in time, there didn't seem to be value to us or to the system really to re-procure it, but there will be in 2 years' time.
Okay, thank you. We talk a lot in lots of different forums about the right place for the right young person at the right time, and your work is so important in that. So a personal thanks from me for everything that you do to make sure that our young people are living where they want to and having the experience that they want to. It's so important. So what we have to do now is the recommendation is that the Cabinet extend through variation an existing contract to the incumbent providers of supported accommodation for young people in care aged 16 plus for a period of 2 years to an estimated value of 6.78 million. So can I see if that's approved? Lovely, thank you very much. And thank you very much, Emma and Caroline and Chris, and apologies for not introducing you in the first instance. Thank you. So, right, well, the next item is leaders' announcements. So maybe well, yeah, so we can just swap the agenda around if everybody agrees and go to item 13, which is Cabinet member updates, which Cabinet members have announcements they want to share. Just Councillor Creswell, and then I've got some. So start with you, Sally.
Right, Councillor Lang, Deputy Leader. I want to start first of all by an announcement in terms of the fact that you're probably aware that Plymouth City Council has been shortlisted for 4 awards by the LGC, Local Government Chronicle Awards, and today I want to share 2 of them because they relate to my own portfolio. And so I particularly want to share them because they show how Plymouth is leading the way in creating real opportunities for people with SEND, special educational needs and disabilities, and through supported internships, because this is one of the awards that we have been shortlisted for. And we're helping individuals secure meaningful, sustainable employment by combining tailored workplace experiences, personalised coaching and classroom learning. And in 2 years, we've extended and expanded our supported internships from 9 to 56. And thanks to our partnership in particular, I have to thank Discovery College, every single participant has moved into employment. But commitment doesn't stop there, because through Skills Launchpad Plymouth, another one of our shortlisted awardees, we are transforming how we support people into work. This intelligence-led, person-centred skills system brings together over 80 public, private and voluntary services to create a seamless multi-agency response. And through the Youth Hub, we're tackling rising youth unemployment by engaging directly with young people, listening to their challenges and providing targeted support. In just 12 months, over 17,000 unique visitors have accessed our online resources, and hundreds of young people now have personalised skills action plans, many of whom have transitioned into education, training or employment. The numbers speak for themselves, but the real success is the lives that are changed. Behind every statistic is a person with newfound confidence, newfound skills and a brighter future. Together, we're bridging the gap between education and employment and delivering better outcomes for our community. So it's hardly surprising that both supported internship programmes and our Skills Launchpad of connecting businesses to individuals have both been shortlisted. The award ceremony is in June and fingers are crossed. I've got 2 others as well that I want to mention. So the next one is about the free breakfast clubs for primary schools and primary school children and the early adopters programme. So I'm delighted to announce and share yet again that 5 Plymouth primary schools have been announced as early adopters for the free breakfast clubs for primary schools. One of the key commitments by the new Labour government was the introduction of universal free breakfast clubs for primary school aged children. The benefits of this being that such wraparound care means that children get a breakfast and care for at least the first half an hour before the start of the school day. And parents are able to go to work, training or education, feeling really confident and secure that their children are being provided for. It's estimated that this will save parents about £450 per year per child, so it also tackles the cost of living crisis as well. The government is rolling this out with, I have to say, with real thought and care. Schools had to apply to be early adopters before the end of the autumn term, and there were only 750 places initially, and we really encouraged our schools to actually apply. The intention has been to select a cross-section of schools varying in size, locality, socio-economic background, etc. And these pilot schools will be able to identify some of the challenges there might be in such an ambitious plan and how staff and schools practically overcome those. Our 5 schools that have been chosen and selected are St Joseph's and also St Peter's, which are both RC schools, Pilgrim Primary, Widey Court Primary, and of course Pennycross Primary, Leader, as well. And all of those schools, with the exception of Widey Court, are in fact our cater-ed schools. And the pilot, which begins at the start of the summer term in April, and then the full scheme will be rolled out in the academic year of 2025-2026. And I think what's really encouraging is that our schools, those 5 schools, are going to have the opportunity to shape what the National Breakfast Club policy strategy will in fact be and how well it will be delivered when it comes out in full in the next academic year. This is a practical policy which will support children to achieve and thrive. A nutritious breakfast is with constructive activities, positive interaction with other children and grown-ups will ensure a gentle and calm start to the day, and that sense and feeling of belonging that's so important, because feeding hungry tummies nurtures hungry minds, and it's going to help ensure that our children are ready to learn and teachers can confidently teach. And if you'll indulge me, I have one other. All right, and this is actually about, and very relevant to what we've just been talking about just now earlier, is about City College Plymouth, which has been awarded the 24-25 AOC Beacon Awards for Digital Innovation. And I did share this briefly with Cabinet Planning last Monday because I was very excited because they got the award while we were in Cabinet Planning, and it was awarded to them in the House of Commons. So this award, this Beacon Award for Digital Innovation, is a national recognition of the excellence in further education. It's a very prestigious award. It's groundbreaking AI-powered quality of education tool, and it's transforming the way that the college supports its staff so as to enhance learning. By streamlining lesson observations, peer reviews and deep dives, the college enables their lecturers to focus on what matters most, which is actually delivering learning experience, outstanding learning experiences for their students. The AOC Beacon Awards are amongst, as I've just said, the most prestigious honours in UK further education, showcasing outstanding innovation and impact as well. Winning this award reinforces City College as a pioneering digital-first college, leading the way in both the South West and also beyond. And this recognition isn't just about the college, it's about the positive impact that this will have on Plymouth and also the wider region. By embracing cutting-edge technology, ensuring students receive the highest quality education and preparing them for careers of the future. So relevant, as again I will say, after our discussions that we have had this morning on the city's economic strategy and the city's future. Can I just say and reiterate, and I think I can do this from Cabinet, a huge congratulations to the college and staff whose hard work, dedication and drive makes these things happen. This award, as I keep saying, is prestigious. It's great for the college, it's good for the students, and it's also excellent for our city. Thank you very much, Leader and Deputy Leader.
Thank you, Sally. Who's next? It's the Deputy Leader.
Thank you. So I've got a couple of announcements. I'm going to show a video in a minute, but this is a very exciting, important announcement. For the 1st of April 2025, Plymouth care leavers aged 18 to 25 who currently pay for their prescriptions will be entitled to a free prepaid prescription certificate when they are in need of prescriptions. This will be arranged through their personal advisor and the cost reclaimed from Devon ICB. This will be a particular benefit to young people who take regular medication and are not entitled to free prescriptions through any other route, but also to young people who need a one-off course of treatment. Without such support, some young people may choose not to take medication due to the cost. So we are absolutely delighted to add this to our updated local offer to our care experienced young people, and thank the ICB enormously for their support on this. Brilliant. It's really, really important announcement. So I did a tour of the work that's happening on our 3 of our youth centres at Frederick Street and at Efford and Honecknell. It's a total of £4 million investment going into those centres, and we made a film. And I spoke to one of the team at one of the centres, and they said to me, you know, the young people come by and see the work happening, and they still don't really believe that this much money and this much work is being invested in them and their places where they go. And I've said, please make sure that when it's all done and the young people get to see it properly for the first time, please video it. I really want them to see that they deserve this. They absolutely deserve this investment to have these incredible places with some amazing stuff that I do understand and some stuff around esports which I don't understand, but I know is incredibly important and exciting for our young people. So if we could just play the video, because Jasmine from the comms team made such a nice video of our tour around the work so far, which is going really, really well. So I've been looking around our youth centres that are benefiting from the Youth Investment Fund money, and I'm at Efford at the minute, and honestly the work that's gone on in there it's tremendous. I'm so excited for when the young people get to see this space and start using it. Everybody's working so hard to make it as good as it can be, and I'm already blown away, and it's not even finished.
Has anybody else got any announcements? Go on.
No, it's not an announcement, but I did just want to reflect on Dazzle. I know that Lindsay talked about it earlier. I went with Councillor Coker, and it was just, given everything we've been talking about today about culture and creative industries and how important it is to have these things happen actually literally on your doorstep, like in Devonport, it was an extraordinary event. And there was one point where there was a projection onto the 3 blocks of flats of drawings of the faces of young people at Mount Wise, and a little child behind me was like, that's me. And it's just those moments that you think all the effort and all the creativity that goes into making these things happen, seeing people walk around Devonport with their maps, where shall I go next? It was just an extraordinary event, and absolutely underlines why creativity and culture is absolutely vital to residents in our city having, you know, great and fulfilled lives.
I couldn't agree with you more. I went there on Sunday, and my 2-year-old granddaughter took us around, you know, and it was great because she lives in Devonport, and it was great to see her dancing on and the lights and everything. I mean, it was just an extraordinary event, and seems thousands of people wandering around, and the hole in the wall with the new space there as well in Wall Street. That was fantastic. But well done, Rio, and everybody behind that project. It did dazzle. It really did dazzle. Mark.
Yeah, it was a fantastic event. And as you all know, I live in the ward and I have done for decades. Walking around after the event, though, hearing the buzz from the local community, and it just follows up from the Devonport Day that we had at the box, because we reached out to people in Devonport to say that the arts, history, it can be inclusive of everyone. So I think that was really important to me, that the people of Devonport embraced what was on offer. And actually, it's now beholden on us to make sure that we continue with that, because we did some work a couple of years ago with the box about the percentage of Devonport residents that had actually taken up the offer. And this just shows the power of what we can achieve. So I spent the evening with Jemima, and it was absolutely brilliant watching not only the visitors, but also the engagement of the local community, which was really pleasing for me.
It's extraordinary. So congratulations to everybody. I was in Devonport a couple of days ago. Last Friday, I had a sneak peek at the new hub at Fulston Park and I got to say, what is going on there at a breakneck speed to finish that off for this week's opening. I do hope people from across the road and across Devonport see that place as theirs, because it's so good. It's so good. I was astonished by the quality of the build. Classic Builders in there doing amazing work again, with loads of local people being employed, you know, in finishing. So it's great to see this investment in Devonport, where, you know, a community that really needs this stuff, and I hope that people see that as theirs, you know, because it is for them, and it's for veterans too, and other people. Some of the specialty care that will be going on there with Livell and others is going to be fantastic. So so much really brilliant things happening in Plymouth at the moment. So in my role as Sudan, I have an announcement on her behalf. And it's about exciting changes ahead at Mountbatten Centre. The £4 million refurbishment starts today. The scheme is funded by the National Lottery, as you know, with the Levelling Up Fund and the Council's own resources. And the centre was created in the 1990s. Some of us are older to remember when it was, as an education centre for deprived children to learn to sail. Now, in recent years, I think it's fair to say the centre had lost its way a little bit in that respect, with a lack of investment in the building, a lack of financial resilience, and perhaps a lack of ambition. Now, through the National Marine Park, we've created an exciting new vision for the centre as an anchor institution for both the National Marine Park and the Mountbatten Peninsula. And the project will see the centre transformed with a new internal design, modern Sports England compliant changing facilities, and a brand new bistro. Think Boggs Cafe. We will also be enhancing the public realm and reimagining the Mountbatten Tower with significant new interpretations whilst opening it to the public. We'll also be replacing the pontoons. Taken together, the project will also provide the city with a new venue capable of holding world-class sailing events. Alongside the capital works is a significant revenue programme which will activate the Mountbatten Centre by providing activities for the local population and building capacity. Now, the programme will take most of this year before reopening in time for 2026. but the centre will continue to offer a slightly more limited programme of water activities on a day-to-day basis in 2025. Through this project, we are securing the centre for the next 25 years and developing our first hub for the National Marine Park. So another glorious day in Plymouth. Right, well, I think, does that mean we've reached the end of the meeting? Thank you all for attending. I think I've I've announced enough for one day. Thank you very much. Some of us, as Professor Chris said, we're going to London for a bit of show and tell in our capacity. But as you know, both Jemima and I are involved with the Key Cities Executive. The university, Plymouth University, is a key part of the Key Cities Innovation group, which is universities in key cities like ours and places like Wrexham and others. So it would be great to see Professor Chris up there today as we launch this new report, of which our own Kevin Mackenzie's had quite a lot to do with. So I'm really pleased he'll be there to be with us tonight. Anyway, thanks very much. You are all marvellous. See you next time. Bye-bye.